Okay, we are going to pick up on the bottom of 24a4, Chav Dalet Amud Aleph, all the way on the bottom, and we're going to continue our discussion about a karpef. Again, a karpef is a place that's typically not, it's a place which is not used for regular individual purposes, like purposes of residential purposes. That's what I'm looking for. Karpef yos beis asayim shukaf l'dir. Let's have a karpef which is more than 2 beisa that was enclosed for residential purposes. Okay, so this is a good karpef because this is an empty space and you enclosed it. It was like a backyard that could have gone either way. And the person enclosed it because they want to use it for residential purposes. They want to have, they want to put their swings out there. They want to use it for residential purposes, and therefore it is a full-fledged mutter place to carry there. However, when it's mali mayim, and then it became full of water. Savar Rabbanan l'meimar kizram damu. The Rabbanan wanted to say that's the same thing as planting. Remember, we said if you fill your whole backyard with plants, then it no longer is residential. You can't walk around over there. They want to say the same thing is for water, v'asar, and therefore you can't carry there. Amalu Rav Abba achua derab orei derab sharshia hachi amrina mishmei Rava. Ma'im k'netam dami v'sharu. They said in the name of Rava that water is like trees. It's the same thing, and you're allowed to carry there. Amra meimar v'hu dechazil l'tashmishta. That's only if the waters are fit for use. Avalo chazil l'tashmishta lo. That's only if the water's fit for use. In other words, I could come and draw water so I could drink the water. I could come and draw the water so I could use it for some function. But if I can't use the water, then no, it is like vegetables in the sense that I can't really use that space, right? So, in other words, the Gemara wants to say, the back and forth of the Gemara is as follows. The Gemara started off with assuming that if you can't walk in a space, then it loses its status of being residential. Just like with the vegetable patch. If I plant a vegetable patch and it takes up the majority of my space, then it's a karpef, I can't use it. I can't walk around over there, as opposed to trees, right? But water, we thought, okay, I can't walk over there. But the Gemara says, no, but since I can use it, it therefore still is a functional space, and therefore it's permitted. The Gemara says, as long as it's usable water, if it's just water, which is dirty, gross water, then it's the same thing as vegetables. It's not a functional thing, it's not residential anymore, and therefore can't be done. Ravashi has one more qualification. That's only so if it isn't too deep. Okay, now he's focusing on the depth. If it's too deep, then it's already too big of a space, and therefore it's going to be forbidden, right? In other words, normally we said for karpaf, it could be the space, the dimensions, it could be as large, as wide along. The area could be 2 beisa, and now Rav Ashi is coming along and saying, yeah, it could also only go as far deep as 2 beisa. But if it's more than that, then it's also going to be asar. The Gemara says it's not true. We did have a kar de peri. Let's have a mound of produce that reached the sky. Okay, would you say that's not residential function? No. I'm going to come and day 1 I take an apple, and day 2 I take another apple, and day 3 I take another apple. Who cares the fact that it's so high? Bottom line is I can use it. So therefore the Gemara rejects Rav Ashi's argument, and he says at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how deep it is. When it comes to width, we say, okay, it's no longer considered residential space. It's too large, it's too wide. But if it's a small space, and just because it goes so deep, who cares? At the end of the day, it's the same as piling fruit up to the sky. No problem. And therefore the Gemara says that is fine. Okay. Now, the Gemara discusses the specific case of a karpaf. There was a back lot in Pum Nahara. One side open to a mavoi of the town. Okay? So, if you have a picture in front of you, it's going to be a lot easier. Okay, but we're going to try this. If you don't have a picture, we're going to try. So you have a back lot. In other words, it's like a non-used space. Okay? Just an empty space. And on one side, it opens to a mavoi of the town. Typical mavoi that we talked about in the beginning of the Masechta, just like an open road that the courtyards open up, so it's like a street that the chatzeros open up into. Okay, and then that opens up into the town itself. The other side opens to a path which there are vineyards on that side. And that vineyard side opens up to the bank of a river, which is 10 amos high. Okay, 10 tefachim high, excuse me. Okay, so you're with me on the storyline? So basically, on the back, where I am, there's water, okay? Here's your water. There's water, okay? And there's a wall in front of the water, which is 10 tefachim high, okay? And that means you have a wall over here, you have a barrier. If you have a 10 tefach cliff, not a very steep cliff, but if it's a 10 tefach cliff, then that's a wall. And then you have flat land over here. You have vineyard over here, and a path in the middle, okay? And there's doorways into each vineyard, okay? And then the vineyards open up into this what we call a back lot, okay? It's not in the back, it's in the front, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is it's a non-residential space. And then that lot opens up into a mavoi, and that mavoi, on each side you have chatzeros, you have courtyards with houses, and then it opens up at the front, it opens up into the street, okay? Now, what happens was at one point they started using the back lot for residential purposes. The problem is, they already built this space. The space was already built. the walls of the back lot were already built. And so we saw earlier, you could break down the wall, but it's a lot of work and there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's vineyards, there's houses. It's not an easy time. You can't just go ahead and start knocking down walls. So what do? I'm Rabbi, if you want to build, so what they're going to try to do is instead of breaking down a wall, they're going to want to build a new wall, right? By building a new wall, that will be, then it's like I walled the space in. And just remember, like we saw earlier with the walls that, I break down the walls, I build new walls. So here too, I want to build a new wall, but I don't want to break anything. So I'm only going to want to add something. That's the premise of this whole discussion. So let's start all the way back here with the water. If I build a wall on top of that cliff, so maybe there, I'm building a new wall, and now I've enclosed that space, and it should be fine. Like Mara says, no, that doesn't work, because a wall on top of a wall is nothing. In other words, once you have a full valid mechitza, once the full valid partition, building something on top of it, halachically, doesn't really have any function. Okay, so maybe you should build a tzuras Pesach. Again, tzuras Pesach is a door frame, right? Top, sides. And build that in a space where the lot connects to the vineyard path, okay? And now you're building a wall in that space. Now it's a new wall by the edge of the lot into the vineyard path, and therefore that's a wall, and that should work. The problem is, apparently camels were coming to the river to drink, and they're going to topple the tzuras Pesach over. So put a lechi, okay, on the side, instead of putting a whole tzuras Pesach, put a lechi at the corner of the vineyard path, okay? And since it now encloses the vineyard path, because the vineyard path has it has walls on three sides. It has the cliff on one side, that's one wall. It has the walls of the vineyard on both sides. And now a lechi, if you have three walls, everyone agrees, Beis Hillel says that a lechi will be a fourth wall. And since it's a valid fourth wall for the vineyard, which is over here, it goes both ways. A wall is a wall for both sides, right? If I'm a wall on one side, it's a wall on the other side. Since it's a wall that encloses the vineyard, it's going to act as a wall for the lot. And now it's like I re-walled the lot for the residential use. The Gemara says, Amalei Rava, Yomer lechi moel l'shvil al shakram da'alma. You may think that a lechi is effective for any path through vineyards. Rava was afraid that people won't realize the cliff that drops down to the other edge. A person's going to look through the space, they're going to see from the street, and they're going to see the mavoi. They're going to see, they're going to see the lots, and they're going to see vineyards. They're not going to notice that the water drops and drops to the water with a 10 tefach drop, and therefore they're going to think that whenever you have a vineyard, there's this halacha that even though there's two walls, they won't know there's three walls. You think there's two walls, a lechi is going to work, and typically a lechi does not work if there's two walls. So therefore he says that's not going to work. Instead, what you should do is you should make a lechi at the edge of the mavoi in the front, right? Instead of making the lechi by the vineyard, make the lechi at the edge of the mavoi, okay, where the mavoi connects to the lot, okay? Since it helps for the mavoi that goes towards the town, it also helps for that lot, okay? Hilkach. Therefore, the Gemara now concludes: Tiltuli b'masa gufa shari. Carrying the mavoi, it's permitted, right? Because now it's surrounded on four sides, because it has the two walls from the chatzeros of the courtyards with their walls, and now it has the lechi, another wall, and has its tzuras Pesach in the front, four walls. So gufa shari. Okay, the back lot is permitted since there is now a wall that encompassed the back lot, and now it has walls on all sides. However, carrying from the lot to the mavoi, from the mavoi to the lots, there you have machlokas Rav Acha and Ravina, one allowing and one forbidding. What's the machlokas behind? What's the machlokas about? Madashari dahaleka dayorin. The one who permits it is because there are no residents in the back lot. Okay, so what's going on over here is as follows. When you have two private domains that are adjacent one to another, you need to have Eruvin chatzeros. If you don't have Eruvin chatzeros, then you can't carry from one chatzer to another. So over here, that's only true if there are people living in both spaces. And therefore, since granted there's residential usage in the lot, but there aren't people living there, and therefore the one who permits it says, why can't I carry into the lot? It's a private domain and a private domain. I can carry from one private domain to the other. The one who says it's prohibited is because granted there are no residents now, but since it's a space which could theoretically have residents, and therefore a person may mistakenly think that, because at the end of the day it's a separate domain, you see one is a lot and one is the mavoi, you may think that a person may mix this up with a case where you have a lot which does have individuals living there, and they don't have Eruvin chatzeros, and you're going to think carry from one to other, and therefore they say it is forbidden. That was a short Amud. We will stop over here. Have a great day.